Okay, so today we will be having a look at the cerebellum. So orientate the cerebellum first. So here you can see this is the cerebellum peduncle. So this is anterior here where the brainstem should be. Okay, we are going to have a look at the superior surface first. Okay, and you can see that in the middle here, you can see there is the vermis. This is the anterior part of the superior part of the vermis, and laterally here you can see there's cerebellar hemispheres on both sides. Cerebellar hemispheres, and here you can see a groove here. This is the primary fissure. Anterior to the primary fissure here, this is the anterior lobe. On both sides, anterior lobe, and posterior to the primary fissure here you'll find there's the posterior lobe. Okay, so that's the superior surface of the cerebellum. Now let's have a look at the posterior surface of the cerebellum. Inferior surface of the cerebellum. We finished with the superior surface of the cerebellum. Now let's have a look at the inferior surface of the cerebellum. Okay, let's orientate ourselves first. This is anterior, where the brainstem should be. This is posterior. So on the inferior surface of the cerebellum, okay, we can see there's a deep groove in the middle here. That's called the vallecula, and deep in this groove, deep in the vallecula, you'll find vermis, inferior part of the vermis, and laterally you can see there's the cerebellar hemispheres. Cerebellar hemispheres on the both sides. You can see here a prominent lobule is called the tonsil. Tonsil on both sides here you can see, and this lobe is the posterior lobe. Posterior lobe. Okay, now let's have a look at the anterior surface of the cerebellum. Okay, anterior surface of the cerebellum. Anterior surface of the cerebellum here. Okay, you can see here's the cerebellar peduncle. Cerebellar peduncle. This is superior cerebellar peduncle. This is middle cerebellar peduncle, and this is inferior cerebellar peduncle. Again, on this side, superior cerebellar peduncle, middle cerebellar peduncle, inferior cerebellar peduncle. Okay. So up here, there's the anterior lobe. Inferiorly here, you'll find there's the posterior lobe. And there's a groove here, deep groove here. This is the posterolateral fissure. Posterolateral fissure. And this posterolateral fissure, it separates the posterior lobe inferiorly here from the flocculonodular lobe. Flocculonodular lobe here consists of flocculus on both sides. Flocculus and the nodulus on both sides. So that's the flocculonodular lobe. Okay, now let's have a look at the posterior surface of the cerebellum. Okay, this is posterior surface of the cerebellum. So you can see that. Okay, again midline here, in the middle here there's the vermis. Laterally there's the cerebellar hemispheres. Okay, anterior lobe here is anterior to the primary fissure. This is primary fissure. And posterior lobe is posterior to the primary fissure. This is primary fissure. Posterior to primary fissure is the posterior lobe. This is posterior lobe. Okay, another deep fissure that you can see on the posterior surface is this one. Okay, this is horizontal fissure. Horizontal fissure. Okay, so now let's have a look at the median section. Median section of the cerebellum. Here you can see on the surface here you can see there's the cerebellar cortex, dark in color here, cerebellar cortex, but in the center of the cerebellum, you can see the white matter, Okay, white matter in the center of the cerebellum. Okay, that's all for cerebellum. Okay, thank you.